Hello everybody. Once again, it's been a few days since I've done anything on my shelves, but I am now ready to make a start on the support pieces of shelf number 2. Now, a bit of info for you. My home-based delivery has finally arrived. It came today, a day earlier than actually they said it'd be, but I'm not going to complain about that. But funnily enough, B&Q has now opened up again. Although I did a drive-by yesterday just to see what the queues were like, because I need to get in there for my dad. Let's get some stuff from my dad. So I wanted to see what the queues were like, and pretty big. So yeah. So in a way, I'm glad that I didn't cancel the home-based delivery, because at least now that stuff is here. So I've got 2 more tins of gloss mahogany. I've got some paintbrushes so that I can do a bit of fiddly spreading of the furniture remover on the underside of the table. But also, because the furniture stripper has come as well, then that also means I can do the legs of the table, which I'll do outside. The underside of the table, I'd do it outside if the weather's nice, and it's been raining all day today for the first time in a while. But at least now I've got the stuff to be able to get a few things done. So yeah, I've also got a plastic sheet, a dust sheet, that I can put into my living room, or I can put down in here if I do need to do some of the furniture stripping inside. Because obviously if it lands on the wood in my living room, it'll burn through that. But on the plastic sheet it should be okay. But anyway, what else have we got? So also with having the furniture stripper, it means at some point, if I want to, I can make a start on a set of shelves that I've got from a sister-in-law, that she was wondering if it could be done up, and my brother was saying no, it needs to go on a bonfire. And to be fair, it's a decent little set of shelves. It's the kind of thing that I mentioned I refurbished a set of shelves that we'd had since I was little. Well, this set of shelves is what she'd had since she was little. I don't think my brother wants it back, but she might if it ends up looking nice. So I've got that to do at some point as well anyway. But right, anyway, to give you a bit of information as well on these. The last time we saw these big pieces, I did some repairs on this, and I have sanded them down. I've given all of these a fine sanding and given them a clean off as well. And it's also the piece with the carved down bit, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I've got my tear off sheet, which I am going to need because my memory's shit. Now, one of the things that I'm going to try and do is, for the first time, I'm going to try and use one of the old foam sponges that I've got. Now, I've only got one of this size. I've got some more that are bigger. Oh, my nose is bad, because as soon as I do some sanding, my nose gets bad. Yeah, I've only got one of this size. Now, the reason I'm going to try using this is because this tin is quite low on the amount it's got in, and getting the sponge in there is a pain in the arse. So at least with this I can try and get in there. If it doesn't work very well though, I will have to revert to what I would normally do. But yeah, it's kind of temporary. I mean, at some point I may order more of these, to be honest, because they are very handy. But at the moment, it's not on my list of priorities. That is for certain. So it's raining quite, well, not heavily, but it is coming down a bit more now. I must admit I'm kind of glad that it's raining though. We've had nothing but decent weather for, what, 3-4 weeks, something like that. So I think we all need a bit of rain, and also, to be fair, a bit of rain is going to keep people indoors, and to be honest, we need to be indoors a bit at the minute. I mean, I had to go and pop over and see the folks yesterday and take them a couple of bits, and I've got to say, my mother was not coping too well. I think she was freaking out that her or my dad, excuse me, may end up dying, and wouldn't be able to have seen any of their kids or grandkids for God knows how long. So yeah, she wasn't overly with it yesterday. I think it helped having me pop round, but also, what's it? They've not really had anybody to talk to other than obviously each other, my mum and my dad, and every now and again you need a different face to see. But what I will say is, I mean, a friend of mine, Tyler, sadly his grandfather passed away recently, not because of not because of coronavirus, or just sort of old age and illness, sadly. But his funeral was a couple of days ago, and Tyler was telling us today that they were only allowed to have 10 people at the funeral, which meant that Tyler himself wasn't able to go, and I wouldn't be surprised if other family members weren't able to go either. I mean, that must have been extremely tough. So I've got to say, I do feel for Tyler and anyone else that may find themselves in that kind of situation, because I can imagine how tough that would be. But I know obviously there's a few people been having different discussions recently about whether we should still be locked down and stuff like that, and coming up with all different sort of conspiracy theories. But I've got to say, from a perspective that Tyler gave, which is about not being able to attend the funeral, if people had stayed home more a few weeks ago, we could be in a better situation. The problem is, there seems to be a lot of people that are under the impression that, well, we're under lockdown and people still dying, it's not working. So, hang on a minute, if we weren't under lockdown, it'd be fucking worse, it'd be a hell of a lot worse. So, yeah, but at the same time, I can understand some of the arguments that I've seen people make. The conspiracy ones, that must have pissed me off a bit. But that people just sort of basically saying, oh, the government are just trying to scare us all into staying at home and blah blah blah. And it's like, you know what, fuck off. Because at the end of the day, with us all being at home, the government's income of tax minuscule at the minute, but anyway. Well, what I was going to say was that for the people that I know that have had the point of view of, well, wondering why they aren't allowed to work, but yet if they go and do a food shop or whatever, they see hundreds of people queuing up, all near each other, ignoring social distancing to get food, but we're not allowed to go to work, or like in Tyler's case, he's not allowed to attend a family member's funeral. It's tough. is tough one. But one thing I would definitely say is, in all honesty, no one knows at the moment exactly what is the right course of action for us all to take, because no one's had to go through this. It's a bit like, let's say, I don't know, for example, the first time anyone ever experienced a volcano going off. Well, obviously we think, well, the rest fucking run away. Well, maybe they didn't know that. What if they ran towards it? They wouldn't have known any better. Or, for example, if I was to say, one way that we could solve a lot of the problems with the amount of waste that us humans as a species create, we could solve it by putting all of our rubbish into volcanoes. It's hot enough to melt it all and burn it all away. That'll work. Initially you might go, you know what, that's not a bad fucking idea. Until you actually look at it and go, well, hang on a minute. Well, what would happen actually if a lot of the stuff that we chucked in our waste actually got into a volcano? And when you actually look at it from a chemical standpoint and a scientific standpoint, you'd end up with bigger explosions than just leaving a volcano on it all alone. So yeah, you might get rid of your rubbish, but you're going to kill off the planet. And you're going to do it quickly. So sometimes we just need to have more information to know what the right thing is to do. But as I said to someone the other day, you look at countries like New Zealand, now they locked down very early, sort of a lot earlier than anywhere else pretty much. And the amount of cases they've had is pretty much nothing compared to the rest of the world. Now, they don't really have any political ties to us in Britain or to America. They're not politically biased in Europe or on a global scale. So why have they locked down, and why have they stayed locked down? And how come they've not had that many cases? But people will sit there saying that our government is corrupt and they're lying to us and they're forcing us to be locked down for dodgy reasons. And it's like, we're not all of the American government that probably took out JFK and potentially took out their own 9/11 buildings, but even then, oh shit, there's no proof of those things. But it doesn't help with the likes of 9/11, where going through the books of history, where the scenario as a potential threat to the country, or basically risk analysis, comes up with those kind of threats, and that threat specifically, and then it happens, all people are going to put two and two together, and whether it correctly makes 4 or not, they're going to get to 5. I must admit, I'm still not a mega fan of these on these first layers. I think the wood soaks in the stain way too quick for these sponges. Either that, or I just need to be much quicker with it. Oh, excuse me. I mean, I can understand and appreciate that people want to be, they don't want to be stuck at home, they want to be perhaps going to work, or whether it's for the financial benefits or for just the personal benefits of doing the job, doing the things they enjoy. But as I said to a few people a couple of days ago, one person's desire to return to work does not outweigh one other person's life. So for me, it doesn't really matter how much one person may want to go back to work. If the possibility of one person going back to work, it comes with the possibility of one person dying, it ain't worth that risk. It's not worth that price. I must admit, it's not easy for me at the minute, because when I go out, I mean, for example, when I do these videos, you may hear that I'm sniffling and I'm sneezing and I'm going on about my nose, but I know that it's caused by the sawdust. But if I go out, no one else knows that it's caused by sawdust. So if I go out and start sniffling and sneezing, people are going to fucking freak. I think it's one of the reasons why I know that it is from the sawdust is because I don't have the problem when I've not had the sawdust around. Might sound a bit obvious that, but it is true. So I'm going to need to try and fill in part of this end here. Now, interestingly, even though these cloths didn't work on the clear, they do seem to be working on these, which is handy to know. Oh, that might be a bit much. I think I do still prefer using the normal sponges. I feel like I've got more control over where that's going and more spreadability. I don't really feel like I've got full control with this, to be honest, but maybe what I might end up having to do is pouring the stain out into a tub. I've managed to get some plastic tubs. Funnily enough, my dad asked me yesterday when I ran whether I needed any. He jokingly said it. I said, well, actually yes, because I've not been ordering takeaways, and I've used up all my tubs, so I'm actually low on them. And he'd got low on them, and he uses them for a lot of different things. So he decided, because they weren't getting takeaways anymore, he decided he was just going to order a load of the Chinese tubs. So I was able to grab a few. So if I do start to really get frustrated with this sponge, I know I can at least pour some of that out, but I'd rather only pour it out when I'm starting a coat, not when I'm, for example, going to be starting the other side, or the underside, should I say. Now, I think it is taking me a bit longer as well, interestingly, to do it with this. That's quite a surprise, really. I honestly thought it'd be quicker. it's easier for getting it out of the tub, that's for sure, or out of the tin. But now, I'm not going to put you through the agony of watching me stain all of these layers again. I'll do what I did with the previous pieces, where I'll record this first coat and then take some screenshots or do short video updates at the end of a coat. Just to make the videos a lot shorter. Rain's coming down quite a bit now. I'm not able to be very consistent with this. I think if I didn't have the cloth there ready to wipe up the excess, I'd have probably swapped off from that already. It's definitely not as, surprisingly, it's not as precise as me using the sponge, but part of that is coming from I'm not getting a consistent spread. So the overlap on the lip is not as clean as what I'd be doing with the sponge. So let's, obviously these are pre-used, but they have been cleaned. That's so much quicker. Okay, yeah, I think I'll just have to go with the sponges and get annoyed with having to go quite far down into the tin. I've put way too much on there. That's my fault. Much better application. Now I'm not going to do the ends until I'm doing the rest of the pieces. On the other side, should I say. Well, let's see if it's ready. I reckon with these early coats, I reckon we can pretty much go straight into flicking it over. Although those may need a little bit longer, as these would have been done, well, those two were done quicker. Well, that last one was done quicker, so they'll have less time to dry. I'm going to knock in the wood over or my tin of steam. Just going to leave a little more on there, not that much. A little awkward to hold, but let's crack on. That's spread lovely there. See if my left hand can get it to do the same. A bit harder because of the way this grain is going. There you go. That is wet there. Need to try and handle it without getting dimples off the gloves like that on there. Got myself a little bit messy there, if I'm honest. I'm thinking about it. It's because normally I do the bits that do the faces and then I do the ends when it's in place, in its resting place. So, see if you divert from the plan. Oh, no, I can't touch that. Maybe subconsciously I was wanting to not have to keep standing up. Give that a bit of a clean up. Yeah, so it's only taken sort of 6 minutes to to get from doing the second part of that up to this, whereas it took about 15 minutes to do the front of all of them. So I also have to be careful because I've got my support pieces quite narrow because of the smaller pieces. It means I've got to be careful with this bigger piece. So I could very easy send it flying down the fucking stairs. So much easier doing this with a sponge rather than the foam brush. I can imagine it's going to take me a few days to get these coats done on these. Depends on how my week goes really. What is it? Tuesday today, so I might be able to get a bit more done later today. Wednesday, maybe able to get a bit done tomorrow. Thursday, not sure. So yeah, but I don't really need to be spending a lot of time doing my practice races at the moment, because our current championship has just finished. So as much as I'm going to have, I am going to have a bit more sort of time in the evenings for myself. I've got a lot of video editing to get done, partly with this stuff and partly with the racing stuff. I mean, up to this point, I haven't actually started cutting up the video clips of the first shelf, I don't think. No, I haven't. I think with the uprights, it was sort of like 4 or 5 hours worth of footage. With the first shelf, there's over 11 hours of footage that I need to sort of chop up. And obviously, it's time consuming, potentially at least 11 hours. not be too bad if I remembered to do what I did on the uprights, which is at points go, right, now I can fast forward, and give myself a secret hand signal as to when to come off fast forward. That's too much for the ends. On to the last one, and as I was going backwards then, I genuinely for a split second thought, I hope that fucking chair's behind me, because otherwise I'm going to end up on my fucking arse. Well, this has definitely gone much better since swapping to the trusty sponge. But as with all of the other applications, or all the other pieces, these are not going to look anywhere near the right colour until they have had a good 5 or 6 coats on them. Okay, right, well I'm fairly happy with that for now, so I'm going to leave those for a decent chunk of time, at least an hour or so, and I will be back to do another coat on them a little later on, but as I said, I will only do short video clips of those and what I remember. And 5 to go. So yeah, I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so I'm about to start putting the second coat on these, so it'll be interesting to see how they look after that. Okay, coat number 2 has been applied, and as you can see the colour is coming along nicely. Only what, not 5 to go, 4 to go now. Gonna have to leave these for a while, so yeah, I'm gonna go and chill out.